Hello, I just put together this quadcopter here recently, so I thought I'd make a video to show basically just a bit of flight video really, and to give my impressions of it. No, it's not a homemade frame this time. I'm starting to see the attraction with using kit frames like this because they are really quite cheap and extremely convenient. So this is actually only the second kit frame that I've used, and this is a Diatone brand. It's called the White Sheep, and I think that is supposed to be a cheeky takeoff of the Team Black Sheep Discovery frame, because it seems like it's a copy of that frame. However, I think the the person who thought that name up probably thought they were kind of clever, but if you are familiar with English, you'll of course know that the term black sheep is to describe something that's kind of unusual or out of the ordinary, or different. So to call something a white sheep kind of really is a bit silly. Just means it's kind of boring. But anyway, so that's the name of this, and this is the second Diatone frame I've got, because I've noticed that the Diatone stuff seems to be just right for me with my price range, and pretty good value for money so far. And I actually have the third Diatone frame that I'm going to use. This one here, I still haven't built this one, but that'll be the next one. Anyway, so this is I think it's 50 centimeter size, or maybe 48 centimeter size, the so-called dead cat configuration. And I don't have any FPV gear or anything on at the moment, so I'm just flying it around like this, either with no Mobius or with a Mobius on here. And this, my first impression was that this would be a good mounting for the Mobius because it's purpose built, but it turns out not to be too great really. There's quite a bit of vibration in there still, so yeah, could use some improvement. I think maybe the damping balls, I need to change the density of them or something. And I'm running the MultiWii flight controller, and as you can see when we look inside here, there's almost nothing in there really. I just moved this Arduino Nano and the 10 degree of freedom sensor board in the middle there from that funny square wooden frame quadcopter that I had earlier, and just put those in there and connected everything up. Very easy to build, fairly good quality parts. I think it seems nice and solid, doesn't look like it's going to break. Everything fits together quite well. Yeah, I like it, and it's fun, a lot of fun to fly too, I found. I put these motors on that I had earlier as well. They're getting a little bit sort of gradually more buzzing and vibration as I use them. Somebody recommended to oil them, so I have some oil on the way in the mail, and I'll see if oiling the motor, the bearings will change anything. And I'm just using the orange receiver on there. So yeah, not really too much to say about this, I guess. It's it's a kit, so I don't really have to describe it to anyone because I didn't make it that myself. So it's all, if anyone will get the same thing. I kind of like that the lights were on here. That's one thing that I thought was cool about it when I got it. But they're not really that bright, to be honest. And unless it's more than, unless it's like, you know, just a few meters away from you, you can't even see them at all in the daytime, at least, of course. But you don't need to. I mean, the shape of it's fairly distinctive. It's quite easy to see which way it's facing. But one thing that is really neat is the fact that it's a PCB. The bottom part is the power distribution board as well. And I've seen a lot of those boards out there, and I've been wanting to try one. So this was the first one I've tried, and it is really quite convenient. I really like that feature. So it's still very empty in there, lots of room for video gear and stuff. I found at the moment though, because of the way I don't have any weight up the front or any GoPro or, you know, heavy video gear or anything, I found that the battery, rather than putting it here, I had to put it like around about here to keep the weight in a sensible, the center of gravity in a sensible place. But it flies really good. Actually, let me just check the weight. The weight is 738 grams with no camera, no video gear, no nothing. No battery either. So that's a little bit on the heavy side really. but still it flies great. So yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about this apart from that so far I really like it. I would recommend it. Oh, I was going to also show you all of the parts that I had for this in a spreadsheet here, so I'll put the link to this in the video description so you can take a look at this and follow the links yourself. Everything comes from Banggood, and I've included everything except for the receiver in this list, and it's 129 US dollars all up, so fairly cheap build overall. And I'll possibly put some FPV gear in this in the future and give it a try flying around with FPV, because there is a purpose-built camera mount in there for doing that. Anyway, so I took quite a bit of video footage of this, and I also tried, I think, 4 different propellers just to see if they could do any better with this vibrating problem that the Mobius mount has. And I tried 3-blade and 2-blade 9-inch props, and also 2-bladed 10-inch props. The 10-inch props and the 3-bladed 9-inch props were terrible, and the 2-bladed 9-inch props were not too bad, as long as you use the 60 frames per second setting for Mobius, not the 30 frames per second. So anyway, I'll put a little bit of on-board footage, and I'll mark up in the top corner which props and Mobius settings I was using, so you can get an idea of what video you can expect from this in the standard, just with the standard build and standard Mobius camera. Oh, just a couple of other things I wanted to mention. There is also in the front here, there is a built-in voltage step-down converter thingy there, and I'm using that to get 5 volts to supply the flight controller. There's also 12 volts on there as well, but I found that that didn't actually give me 12 volts. It's only giving me 10.5 volts from a fully charged 3S battery. So I just thought I'd mention that just in case anybody's expecting to get a nice 12 volts there. You might not get 12 volts. The other thing that I did have to modify a little bit in the MultiWii code, actually I'm not sure if I had to do this, but I thought I would do it to be safe, and that is to change the mixing a little bit so that the power given to each motor is taking into account the dead cat shape of this, so it's not a perfect square. And I did that by finding this thread on the MultiWii forums here, and this is suggesting that you override the quad-X settings in the output CPP file. I don't think this is the way you're supposed to do that, because there is a setting in config where you can, if you define my private mixing, it tries to include another file that you've specified. But I thought rather than putting stuff into another file, I would just put it directly into the output CPP file here. So I just copied these 4 lines into here from that forum post, and I'm using the settings in that forum post directly like that. And you'll also have to uncomment that this line here as well if you do that. And another thing I wanted to mention that I was not very impressed with about the frame, or the parts of the frame really, this is actually the only thing that I found that has been kind of substandard so far. These aluminium standoffs in here seem to be very, very soft. The thread inside them is very, very soft, and it's very easy to strip the thread off them if you tighten these screws in too tight. And I use the word tight very loosely, no pun intended, because you don't have to tighten them very much at all before the thread strips out. I was very surprised. It's kind of annoying actually, because I'd seen videos about that on YouTube, people complaining about the same thing. And it kind of slipped to the back of my mind until the moment that I twisted the screw and it stripped the thread, and immediately I remembered the YouTube video that I'd seen. Would have been great if I had remembered the video before I did that. But anyway, I also found the exact same problem on this frame. So I think they're using exactly the same parts. They both seem to be 37mm in height. So I think they do give you spares though in each of these kits. I think there was 1 spare standoff in each of these kits, so you'll have 1 chance to screw it up before you, not screw it up, I mean screw it up and screw it up. Oh, puns everywhere today. So you'll have a chance to ruin it, one chance to ruin it before you figure that out. Anyway, let's look at the flight video. Must be just about done. Still got 3 greens though. Still 3 greens. Here we go.